Humanitarian Award. Please all sign.
Thank you very much. I was overwhelmed when I got the phone call from Bernie saying that I was going to receive this award, because just about 10 days prior to that, I had heard from Vincennes University alumni office, Aaron's telling me that I was going to be named for the Walter A. Davis Award. And my first thought was, Lord, am I getting ready to die? And he was letting right away. And my sister told me to rid myself of that thought. So anyway.
Yes, and we.
And the daughters did too. Anyway, I kind of wrote out a remark that you've kind of heard everything, so I'm just going to touch on some different things here that have affected my life. When I started to work for Vincennes University and for Dr. Beckus, I was all of 18 years old and scared to death. And so I had been a student at Wheatland High School, or Wheatland Grade School. And that school was segregated because I was born during a time when schools were still segregated. And the Wheatland School was kindergarten through 8 with one teacher, Lena Walden, who taught all of us and inspired us to do our very best. She did not let up on us at all. And that followed what my father and mother had said to me: do your very best, get your education. So I worked hard at doing that and trying my best to do what they had requested me. I went to high school, and that was integrated. The Board of Brown versus the Board of Education had integrated the schools. But I didn't know that. I didn't really pay attention to that law. It was just the fact that I had to go to high school because there wasn't a segregated high school. We could go there. We could go to Bible school together in the summer. We just couldn't do grade school together. Figure that out. Anyway, I got to Vincennes University after high school graduation. My father had died suddenly when I was almost 16 years old, and that was quite a shock. My mother was very upset, and we had a time of just having to readjust everything. And so I would work on weekends doing housework to help my mom support ourselves. And then after I had graduated high school, Dr. Beckus offered me a 1-year scholarship. So I looked at the offerings, and there was a 1-year secretarial course. So I thought, I'll just take that. I can be there that long. And I did. I had to work in his office a lot. So I got to know the staff there, and he would assign me different tasks. And at the end of the second semester, when I was thinking, I think I'll head to Indianapolis or Chicago or someplace, a bigger city than Vincennes, Dr. Beckus said, I would like to hire you as my secretary. And I said, well, let me think about that. So I went home and told my mother, and you can guess what the answer was: take the job. So I did. And working for a college president who was extremely involved in the community, was also a Presbyterian minister, and who believed in just being involved, I began to learn some different things. I had to learn how to greet people and how to welcome them to the office, and to be open to who was to see him and who wasn't to see him. One day he asked me to go to the high school and talk to a group of students. And I said, I don't think I can do that. And he said, I think you can. He said, just go and tell them about Vincennes University and why they should come here. So I went scared to death. And I came back and I said, don't ask me to do that again. I gave the whole 20-minute speech in 3 minutes, with water running down my armpits and my hands so well I couldn't greet anybody. So I won't be doing that again. He looked at me and smiled as only Dr. Beckus could, and he said, oh, I think you'll find where you like it someday. Well, 25 years later, when I was giving a speech to 450 in Denver, Colorado, and doing training of prison guards in Hawaii, that thought came to me, and I did enjoy it. Dr. Beckus and Dr. Summers both believed in writing letters. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. Thank you for coming. Thank you for writing. Thank you for this. Dr. Beckus had a heart attack and was in the hospital, and he had over 200 cards. And I said, now, Dr. Beckus, they don't expect you to thank them for sending those cards. And he looked at me and he said, they went out and bought it. They paid for it, they addressed it, they put a stamp on it. We will thank them. I didn't say anything like that again. But years later, through the years, how many people have told me what it meant to get a letter from Dr. Beckus, what it meant to get a letter from Dr. Summers, how they still have it in their files, what it means to them to have been recognized, to knowing their names. In all the various places I served in the community, one of the biggest challenges was when I was on the Housing Authority Board. There was a little building down called Sunset Court that wasn't part of the direct responsibility of the Housing Authority. And there were a group of people that played cards there every Sunday, elderly people who had no place to go for entertainment. And Kathy Bunham and I were on the board, and we fought for them. It cost us our term on the board because we were not reelected after fighting for that. But we made a difference, and that was our goal, to make a difference for those people. At the First Church of God, I've served as a Sunday school superintendent, as a teacher. I've served on the board of trustees. I was the first one to be a woman to be elected to the chairmanship. Scared, but trying everything. Because I kept thinking, okay, if I don't try, I can't say I can't do it. And I tried to bring that to my daughters, and I was proud to hear them say that, because it is important to try. Dr. Summers encouraged me to finish my education. I had a one-year degree. I just had a 1 year of college, and then I decided to go back to school and take classes to finish my AS degree from BU. That required lunch hour classes, which meant I had to work on the Saturdays that I had a lunch hour class. I also would take classes at night, and in 3 years I had my AS degree, and I was very happy. Dr. Summers said, well, why don't you get a BS degree, because now you're doing 20 years of experience, and you need a BS degree to go along with that. Where can I do that while I'm trying to raise a family and do everything? So I applied to St. Mary of the Woods external degree program, known as the WED program. A lot of people thought you had to be married to take that program, and that wasn't required. But anyway, I got my BS degree. And lo and behold, Dr. Summers said, why not get a master's degree? I looked at him, he said, I would be 53 years old if I got a master's degree. He goes, well, you'd be an educated 53. So I enrolled at Ball State, and then I had to have a hip replacement. So I dropped those courses, and then I waited a while, and I enrolled at Indiana State University. They had a televised program. So I would go over to the Ebner building and sit there once a week and listen to those classes, along with a wonderful lady named Jay Creech and Laretha Potts-Russ. And we stuck it out, and we earned our master's degree. Just as I finished that degree, the human resources job opened. Lo and behold, I was prepared. I had the credentials I needed for that job, and I was appointed to be the human resources director at the university. Dr. Summers had already appointed me the affirmative action officer. And that was to make sure we did things right, because equal opportunity affected our funding for our students and a lot of our programs, and we had to make sure we were doing all the right things. Through the affirmative action group, I met people from around the state, and then I got involved in Region 5, which was the 5-state area. They were continually asking me, because these were the Big Ten schools, where is Vincennes University? Where is that school? I adopted Dr. Summers' line. The oldest college west of the Alleghenies and north of the Ohio. I'm sure all of you can say it with me almost, as many times as he said it. In that role, Dr. Summers encouraged me to get more involved, and eventually I became the national secretary. That involved board meetings, and then I became the national president. Well, how did they know me? Not knowing anyone hardly, I took my camera along, and I would take pictures of the various people, send them a little note afterwards and say, it was so nice to meet you. I'm looking forward to working with you through the affirmative action group. I got elected national president against all those other places, and had some opportunities to travel around the United States. In fact, I probably have been to almost every state while I was in there except 7 or 8. So great experience. And I try to stress that with other people when they're discouraged. I can't do this. Try. If you don't try, if you really have a desire. My first desire about traveling came from Lena Walden, who in the summer months would travel throughout the United States and bring back information for our history classes and social studies there at Little Wheatland Colored School is what it was called, Wheatland Colored School. That's where I learned the desire to travel. And who knew years later that I would be traveling around? Good opportunities. You heard Bernie mention, one of my daughters talked about a student that I picked up at night that was working at one of the nursing homes. My husband alternated even in helping me because we did not want her home. That student finished her nursing program at VU, went ahead to Indianapolis and worked, and she is now a nurse practitioner, married, and lives in Georgia and has a little girl of her own. So proud of her and so glad for the role that I could play in her life in encouraging her. Many times when we've had minority students come here from big cities in Indianapolis, Gary, Indiana, they come here and they don't see anybody that looks like them very much. And they're a little bit scared. And I have used that opportunity to try to help acquaint them with the community, get them involved, help them to know how to be accepted, help them to know what's important. And reaching out to them and encouraging them is important. My sister alluded to me earlier, and they all talked about me in my cards. I learned that from Dr. Beckus and from Dr. Summers, the importance of reaching out to someone. And when I was staying with my sister after foot surgery, I was there for about 3 months. She finally said to me one day, "Who are you writing to? Every day you hand me 6 or 8 things to put in the mail. That's more mail than I do in a whole week or 2 weeks." And I said, well, I'm just letting people know that I care about them. And when I hear about something, I try to reach out. And I continue to do that with my cousins in Washington. I stay in touch with Phyllis. I'm so glad she and Bobby Joe are here today with me. My daughters couldn't be here. They were arranged the group, to be able to have them on Zoom. Thank you for that. I thank you for Dwayne Chatton, who's been recording for me. Through the years, I have so many pictures of different times I was doing something, and Dwayne would take a picture and forward it to me. And each and every one of you here means something to me, and I'm so thankful to be a part. I'm going to skip the rest of my remarks and just let you know how much I really appreciate you. Thank you so much.